Hi everyone, I have a really big treat for all of you today. We'll be talking with Charlotte Williams, the founder of SevenSix Agency, and a very impressive human. So let's go. Hi everyone, I'm very excited to be here today with Charlotte Williams, the founder of SevenSix Agency, a diversity-focused social media influencer marketing agency. Charlotte started her career working in marketing and as a digital specialist for lots of companies, including womxn, Sanrio. She managed the whole Hello Kitty brand, worked with brands such as ASOS, Topshop, and much more. She's also an influencer on her own right and has a podcast herself focusing on sustainability. So I'm on the spot here. We'll give her our best shot. So Charlotte, welcome and thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be on the podcast.
We always start by asking you what is it that you do right now, where you're based at the moment, because, coronavirus, and what is the worst job you ever had, if you ever had one?
Oh, wow. Okay. Right, let me remember. So what do I do? So I am the founder of a marketing agency. So we do influencer marketing partnerships and campaigns with brands and also manage social media accounts for brands. I'm also an influencer and I focus on business related influencing and also sustainability, which links into my podcast. Sounds like quite a lot actually, but I have a podcast about sustainability with my really good friend Bianca Foley, and we just talk about basically the minefields of sustainability and how it basically isn't really a thing, but we try to make people understand it a little bit more and help make more ethical choices with their lifestyles. So that's who I am. I'm also a dog mum, a girlfriend, a sister, a daughter. I'm a human. And then what was the next one? You said
if you had a really bad job, really bad job experiences.
You know what? I've had one really bad job, which I don't even have on my CV. Like, you couldn't find it on my LinkedIn. I was there for a month and it was in between two of my best jobs ever. But I was headhunted and asked to join a company. I'm a bit of a marketing geek. So I, back in the day, used to do content marketing and I used to do a lot of coding and like back-end coding for website. And I was headhunted by this UK partner of a marketing software. Went to work. It was my dream job, what I thought at the time. Went to work there and literally nobody ever spoke in the office. There were it was awful. There were 4 people in the office and me, and they just sat in silence for 8 hours. And what was really weird about it, they were all friends, like they knew each other. I was the only person that they'd hired that was like externally outside of their friendship group. And it was just really weird. And every day I'd leave work and I'd call my mum and I'd be like, but fortunately I was kind of headhunted again when I was there after week like 1.5, nearly 2. And then I went to join the Hello Kitty team. So that was really lucky. I just had to wait it out for my contract. That was my worst job ever because I am actually an introvert, but sitting in silence is just not an environment that people should be in for their working lives.
No, I don't think I've ever heard of like a creative industry or like a marketing job where people were quiet.
It was awful. I hated it. Every day I would walk in and I was just like, oh, I don't want to be here. But yes, that was my worst job. And I've never had a bad job since then. That was really the worst.
That's so good. So wait, were you always into marketing and, digital campaigns and that sort of thing? Did you always know that that's something that you wanted to pursue?
Yeah, it was. So I grew up in the MySpace generation. So was really into making my MySpace page amazing, learning how to code. I went to uni to study languages. I didn't really want to go to university, but my parents kind of forced me. And I studied languages. And then whilst I was studying, I got really into YouTube and blogging. And then I moved to Portugal straight after uni just because I wanted to like pursue my language. Learning a little bit more. But so I was a teacher whilst I was over there, but to adults. But I was also freelancing at the time for the whole time I was there, doing social media for different brands. So I've always been interested in social media. I've always done it in a capacity, but it might not have been at the beginning my full-time job. But yeah, I've pretty much always worked in marketing.
Do you think that you doing all those like, YouTube and coding, all those things that you did as hobbies helped you in your career then?
Oh, 100%. It's so funny because I always say bloggers are a whole team in one. So if you think about if you were to commission a blogger or an influencer to create some content for you, they would write the copy, create the images or graphics or videos, do the like marketing strategy around it, the hashtag, the best time to post, all of that stuff. They're the creative director, the stylist, everything in one. So that's basically where I kind of got my skill set from, having to know how to edit my own YouTube video because I didn't, no one was going to do it for me, and learning how to do HTML code so that I can make my blog really good, or the best time to post on social media and like how to do hashtags and all of that kind of stuff. I had to learn that to market myself. And then I realized, oh, this is actually a really cool job. I can do it for other people. And that's kind of, where we are today.
That's amazing. So how did you get your first break, let's say, in the career? Was it a really bad job, or did you get a better job
No.
before to start?
So I did a few internships and a few kind of, I think they'd now be called apprenticeship schemes, but it was just like a family friend with a really low wage asking me to do a bit of everything in the company, and it was great. So I had a few of those, and then what did I do? Then I got a really great job at an e-learning company, and I started as an assistant, and then they realized that I was really into social media, and I kept criticizing the Twitter content that they were posting and like all of this stuff, and they were like, do you just want to do it? And I was like, yeah. And then I ended up leaving as the marketing manager of the company, and got the most incredible amount of training. I was based in Hertfordshire, and I'd fly to Boston in the States every 3 months and stay there for 2 weeks and do training and be with my US team, and it was just amazing. So I learned so much from there because I was really heavily invested in. And then when I was able to move on to Hello Kitty was probably my next, there was that crazy job in between, but then Hello Kitty was my next one. I had such a wealth of knowledge because I'd been trained so heavily and in an American way as well. So it was very much focused on like growth marketing and growing and being as big as you can be, rather than the UK focus at that time. It was like 2015, was very much focused around just being nice and friendly to the customers, and it was just very different. So I think I had a bit of a different approach because of the training I received.
That's amazing. I think this is something that I've heard from so many people that I spoke to recently, about people kind of carving their own spaces in companies. So perhaps you don't just do what you're supposed to and like find the things you're interested in, but really working for the company in many ways that you become so, essential. So you have more responsibility than perhaps you would have otherwise. And I think that's really interesting when you're able to spot that.
Yeah, I think it's really important. You live one life, so you choose the path that you want to kind of walk down. And I think you can do that with everything if you just ask enough questions.
Yeah. And so throughout your marketing, let's say, career working for other people, did you have other, colleagues to rely on? Did you find it as that it was a collaborative space, or was it really competitive? Did, even doing your own YouTube channel and so on, did you have anyone did you have a support system of any kind?
Yeah,
Or
I did. I think each job was different. When I worked at Hello Kitty, I had an amazing creative partner who we would just brainstorm ideas and make them happen. His name's Terence Sheck, and he's just an incredible creative director and graphic designer and visionary. So we worked really closely together. When I did YouTube, I had friends who were also YouTubers and bigger. So they've been doing it for a long time, and they were able to give me shout outs or give me tips and bring me along with them on their journey. So that was always great. So yeah, I've always had kind of a friend. I find it's important to make a friend. So I've always had a friend to help me on my way. And I think it can be lonely if you don't. But a lot of it, I would say, I am very much self-taught. I went on a lot of courses, but I found those courses and asked, to be sent on them or paid for them myself. And everything that I've kind of created was through my inquisitiveness rather than people giving it to me, if that makes sense.
so I want to know now the juicy part of all of this, and how I found out about you is because of the agency you founded. So you went from being an influencer to managing influencers. Is that accurate?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. So in 2019, I launched SevenSix Agency, And yeah, we're an influence marketing agency. So we manage talent, but then also work with brands on their brand partnerships and finding talent even outside of the people that we manage. But yeah, I think it was a crazy impulsive decision that I am good at making. I'm very impulsive, but I had no experience agency side. I think I've done a few freelancing jobs with agencies, but nothing like heavily in the agency space. And I just thought, you know what, I can just run my agency. I can just do my own thing. But the agency was formed because I've worked in the space at, coming up to almost a decade now, and I am a content creator and a marketer. I've worked on campaigns, and I've always found representation really important. It's very personal to me, making sure that the people that we work with in any company kind of match who we kind of see in our friendship groups and outside our house. Like it should be representative of our lives. And I just found the influencer space wasn't catering to that. And it was, until recently with the Black Lives Matter resurgence, it was just very, very white and very one-sided in terms of the storytelling. So I wanted to create an agency, a place where we could showcase amazing talent that doesn't fit into kind of the norm within the industry, because not only are the talent mainly white in terms of the influencer space, but also the people creating the campaigns are too. We've seen stats this year that show that, like 96% of senior level management and kind of directors and C-suite staff members in ad agencies are white, and in the junior side only 14% of them identify as a person of colour. So it's the disparity between racial representation is really, really crazy. And I wanted to do something that kind of counteracted that and created a change, because it's not difficult to create this change. It's just a willingness and an open-mindedness. Is that a word?
I mean, you're the language expert here. I mean, I can. Yeah, that sounds great to me. But I am Brazilian, so my grammar, yes.
So we
So
we could have done this in Portuguese instead.
Yeah, we are gonna do it, the whole thing again in Portuguese, and I'll tell you this.
Perfect.
We're gonna test your skills live.
Oh gosh, haven't spoken Portuguese in a very long time, but we'll do it.
Yeah, no, I think one of the reasons we started I Like Networking was because of that I realized that it's the spaces I've worked in. I've worked in music, I've worked in visual arts, I've worked theater. They are all very, very white. And if the people behind the scenes are all the same, then what we consume as content will all be the same and just won't represent. I think it's going to be interesting to know if there were changes when you first set it up to what the world is now, with protests. Did more people reach out to you, or did it not make any difference? Have you carved your space? Did you have to educate brands about the importance of diversity at the time? So how was your journey?
Yeah, so when we launched, we shouted from the rooftops all about diversity, but then, we had a few brands be like, oh yeah, this is great. And they came on to be our clients. And then a lot of people were just like, okay, cool. And that was it. They just there was no interest. There was no urgency. They didn't understand why an agency like mine was needed. Roll on June 2020. And now everyone's understanding that there's a real, especially in the influencer space, there's a lack of Black content creators that are being put forward for campaigns, that are being seen. There's just so much going on behind the scenes that people were just not awake to. They could see it, they just couldn't like actually see it. So since June, end of May, June, we've had a huge spike in views on our website, clients, everything's gone up, and it's fantastic and we're so pleased. It's obviously bittersweet to know that someone had to die, or a few people had to die to make the news for us to get the work that we have. But what I would say is this is something that we've been doing for a really long time. So I'm pleased that we didn't stop, because there wasn't a huge interest in the diversity side of what we did rather than just the marketing side. So now we're working with lots of brands on creating their anti-racism agenda, inclusive marketing strategies, and also just influencer partnerships.
That's amazing, because you also do consultancy, right, on diversity? Yeah.
So we work with brands really closely on helping them understand their marketing strategy and ways that they can be more inclusive, and work with different types of creatives and content creators to kind of create that 360 approach to anti-racism and inclusivity. So that's really great. And then we also do kind of social media consultancy as well, which is not race related, but everything we do kind of has an agenda, so it fits in. And then diversity consultancy in general, we go into companies and just do a little training course, but it's only specifically for marketing. So to brands about their marketing strategies and ways to be more inclusive, talking about the word, I hate using the word diversity, so talking about why I don't use diversity as a word, and just helping with the language that they use. So it's been really interesting. We've been really busy and the team has grown. We've gone from 2 at the beginning of the year to 5, and we're just trying to catch up all the time.
I want to go back to talking about the building of the agency, but before that, I just want to know, on your personal experience as an influencer, did you find that it was harder, like, to compete in the space when you started, in terms of having most brands wanting the same kind of or same profile of influencer?
Because I've always done influencer marketing on both sides, but I've never really pushed my my influencer life. It's always been a bit of a side. So whatever I got, I was always really happy with. But I was really fortunate to always work with just really great brands. And it's a lot of the time because I'd worked with them as a marketer as well as an influencer. So when I was at Hello Kitty, we worked with so many brands on collaborations. So I knew like the ASOS team, the Converse team, like the Puma team. So they knew me. We'd go for lunches, we'd have meetings, whatever. So when they'd be looking for influencers to invite to an event, I would come up because they knew me, which was always great. So I think I haven't had the same struggle I think that a lot of people have had as a person of colour as an influencer, but it's because I'm a marketer and I know quite a few people who live that double life and have the same thing. So it's quite interesting. But I have noticed that one of my big issues was because of that kind of, I guess, maybe sense of nepotism in the influencer space that I had. I knew people, I knew the campaigns, I knew what needed to be done. I was invited to places where normally I probably wouldn't have been invited to. My reach was really small. I only had, until this year, 5, 6, 7,000 followers, depending on the time. And I'd be invited to events, and the other influencers were a lot larger, and there was a different purpose for them being there. Mine was to, I believe, a lot of the time, to fill the diversity quota, and theirs was to reach an audience, which is really sad to say. And it was really frustrating and upsetting because I'd look around and be like, so I'm the only person of colour in this room. So I'm representing all brown people in the world. And I have a tiny reach. But then there's like 25 to 50 identical women in this room who probably have the exact same demographic and have like one unified reach. So then, like, it didn't make any sense to me. I was just like, why don't we diversify the room and you diversify your reach? Like, it's my kind of marketing mindset. I was like, this is marketing 101, guys. That's where the agency came from, because it was just the frustration of seeing this and knowing like I could put 10, 15, 20 girls from the top of my head in this room and you'd have like great results. Your pictures would be amazing. You'd smash your diversity quotas if they existed, and it would be an all-rounder. But their PRs obviously didn't have access, quote unquote, to those influencers, and I wasn't running their campaigns, so there wasn't much that we could do.
So let's go back now, because I want to know the nitty-gritty of, you started the agency with the idea of having this influencer network. Did all the other services, did you start offering all services that you currently offer from the start, or did you build that slowly? Like, it was you and someone else, I assume, in the beginning, or was it just you?
It was just me. So I started.
Oh God.
I started the agency after being freelance for about 6 months. So the agency, we started with kind of everything that we have now. So social media, influencer marketing campaigns, and diversity consultancy. But we didn't manage talent and we didn't have the network. So it was just, I would pitch for influencers in my personal network, because to be completely honest, most of my friends are influencers. So I've, been around this scene since 2010. So I've kind of accumulated a lot of influencer friends over the years. So so that's where we started, and the main clients that we had were actually social media clients. We did a few influencer campaigns. Well, when I say we, it was me. So I did a few influencer campaigns at the beginning and they were good. And then I took on 3 retainer clients for social media and it was just me. And then I hired an assistant. I've always had an intern that would come back and forth depending on my workload. And then in January this year, she came on full time as an assistant. And then in May, I brought on my sister onto the company and decided to launch a talent management side, which is like our roster of influencers that we exclusively manage. And then also to launch the network, which is a database of influencers that we unexclusively manage, but work with them, pairing them with brands, because we get a lot of things that come in that might not fit the people that we manage, but we can source. But then also hosting educational events so that they are clued up on all things influencer marketing. So be that Facebook talking about their new releases, or Twitter giving a kind of 101 on how to use the app and protect your mental health, ways to make money as an influencer, affiliate links as an example, and then pricing strategies. So we do a monthly webinar. Well, we started during lockdown, during the Black Lives Matter resurgence. We had to take a bit of a pause because it was quite heavy on the team, but then also just we had so much work come in, we just couldn't juggle everything. And then last month we came back to it. So we've had 2 so far, got 1 coming up next month. And yeah, it's just going to be continuous, working with different brands, different platforms to help educate people to be the best that they can be. Because I think that's really important, just giving everyone the equity that they need to get to where they need to go.
That's amazing. But that must have been like a steep learning curve, like, because all happened quite fast
Yeah.
from opening. Yeah. Because, of course, you have all your marketing expertise, but I think, well, I guess when you're doing freelance, you have to organize your time a lot. But then managing other people and growing a business can be different, right? And managing contracts. Yeah.
I'm lucky to have a lot of experience in a lot of things that I do now, because I've been working this isn't a new job. I've been doing this job literally my whole career, but it's just the kind of the way that we work is slightly different now. So it's like the fact that I'm in charge is different, and I control the budget, and yeah, everything kind of falls on me to just make sure it's all great. So making sure our contracts are up to scratch with our lawyers, the whole accountancy side. I met with my accountant recently to go through everything again. Now we've changed up kind of what we do, and she was just like, oh yeah, you're doing it all wrong in terms of your accountancy. So we had to like go through it and change it so that, you know, I was okay for tax. And it's just all really exciting. It's new stuff that we learn every day, and my team are learning, and we just, yeah, it sounds crazy, but we're learning on the go for some of it. The influencer partnership side, anything nitty gritty to do with the job, we can do because that we have the experience in. It's just the agency side, like being the founder, making sure like legally up to scratch and our accounts are up to date and that kind of stuff. That's the stuff that's actually quite difficult, that nobody talks about, and you have to navigate and ask lots of questions.
Yeah, exactly. It's the paperwork part that no one likes to talk about. The unglamorous side of owning your own business.
Seriously, I wish people would talk about it more.
Yes, no, it's intense. But that's amazing. It seems like you're doing a really great job.
Oh, thank you.
So what is your ambition for the next, I don't know, 2 years? Do you plan ahead or like goals that you would like to have? Or would you like to make the agency international? Where do you see it going?
I think we're quite fortunate to work in the digital space. With the current climate, spending is going down, but spending on it, the consumer habits have changed in lots of different ways. So it's making sure that we are kind of up to date with just like what's going on in the world. But for us, we're continuing to kind of move forward and go strong. We're working with lots of brands on large and small projects, and I think that's something that we will continue to do, be really flexible with what we offer. But our goal right now, we've actually launched a crowdfund. It went live this week. So we are looking to raise some money because, crazily, I really want to open an office.
Oh wow, like a physical office. You're going against everything. Okay.
Yeah, because we were in an office space before lockdown, but there were only 2 of us. So now there's 5. We obviously need more space. And as a creative agency, it's actually quite difficult working through a computer. It's not compulsory for everyone to come to the office every day, but we'll have this space where the team can come and be there. We'll also open it up to the influencer network and our talent. If they want to book a desk out for the day, they can. If they want to shoot content, we'll have a little photo studio in there. And it's just a space where people can use to, again, be the best they can be. Us as the agency being the best that we can be, and then the influencers that we work with, just giving them opportunity. So that's what we're looking at the moment. We also need to hire someone pretty soon because we're at capacity with the work that we can take on. So I think right now our focus is just growth. I just want to see us grow sustainably rather than impulsively, which is my second nature, to just do things, but I need to like take time to think about everything that we're doing. But yeah, it's just growth right now and making sure that we can keep up with the work that we currently have, because there's just a lot coming in. We can't say yes to everything, unfortunately.
No, but that sounds great. So in terms of pitching and getting clients, I assume now a lot of it is coming organically, but did you ever have to pitch to get new businesses in the beginning? Is this something you find easy to do, of selling services and so on? Because a lot of people in our community struggle with, imposter syndrome, negotiation, like selling either themselves or services. So I like to know what your experience is in that area.
I've been really lucky. I've only pitched once, and it was to a brand that already had everything that I was offering. So it did not go well. It was a great meeting, but they didn't work with us just because they were all set. But I've never had to like cold call or pitch really. I've just had to send out a couple of proposals, just because everything I've got so far has come through word of mouth or through a friend. In the digital space, so many people need help, and when you're affordable and flexible, you can get a lot for it. So I think I've been really fortunate to not have to pitch, but that's something that I've said 2021, we're going to pitch, and we're going to pitch big, and things are going to be different because we need to come out of our comfort zone. I'm actually about to join an accelerator program next month, which will help with all of that, because I do suffer heavily with imposter syndrome all the time. It's got a lot better recently, but last year I was running this company but also felt like I had no idea what I was doing, but I clearly did because I was doing it. But I think it's just so easy. I think as a woman of color, as a woman who looks really young, even though I'm not, it's just really it can be really overwhelming to be in a really male, like middle-aged male dominated space. So yeah, I definitely understand the whole imposter syndrome side, and I'm gonna really challenge myself next year.
That's good. So what do you tell yourself when you start to get in your head about those things? Like, what is your coping strategy?
This is really really weird story. So I did a little job in an agency just before we launched our agency, just to get some experience of what agency side looks like. And it was a small agency like what I'm running, and it was great, like a really great agency, a great job. We did a really great project, but the guy that ran it was younger than me. He had hardly any experience, and just had the gift of the gab. He was just a really good like wordsmith and a chatter. So everything he got was through his connections, through his last job, and then also just because he was really great at just schmoozing people. And went into a few meetings, and I knew he wasn't prepared, and he just kind of threw me into a lot of things and his team to like get stuff done. And I just remember leaving one meeting and just being like, if this guy who is completely inexperienced and doesn't really know what he's doing can go into a company this massive and get a job this big, I can do it, because I have the experience and I have the time, I have the connections. I just don't have the confidence. So I always say, go into life, go into pitches with that knowledge that there are people who are doing way more with way less.
Exactly. I always think of that quote. There is some sort of quote like that you have to go through life as if you're like a very overly confident, like middle-aged white man.
I didn't want to say that, but my actual quote that I say to myself is, go into it like a mediocre white man.
Yeah, that's it. I think I think that's good. I think it's good that you actually have. I'm not calling this person who worked with mediocre, but that you have this like person that was like, okay, this guy can do it. I can do it, right? Like, I think it's hard. I think maybe women are more critical of themselves. I don't know.
Oh, we definitely are. We definitely are, and also critical of how people see us. So I think that's also an issue. Whereas I think men go into things kind of a bit more carefree and a bit more, just more confident. And that's great. And I think we can learn from that, but also we can learn how to turn that confidence into our own type of confidence and not try to replicate hypermasculinity if that's not how you are naturally.
Yes, no, for sure. So Charlotte, I think you gave lots of good advice to everybody here, but if you could give someone who is in the marketing or creative industry starting out now any advice, what would it be?
What would it be starting out? I think there's a lot of competition right now, and there's a lot of job uncertainty and a lot of people fighting for the same role. So I think my biggest advice would be do everything you can to stand out and to educate yourself. You might have a degree and you feel like that's enough. It's not. You might have done loads of personal kind of learning and using Instagram and like private courses to get where you need to be and think that's not enough, but actually it can be. So I think what people need to realize is we're looking, as agencies and as, you know, bosses and teams that are growing, we're looking to hire people who are just really hungry and really proactive. So if you can show us examples of your work, even if you haven't had a job before, but examples of how you've used social media to promote your, I don't know, food recipe business or showcase your different hairstyles, whatever that might be, you know, maybe a fashion blog. If you can showcase your talent doing that online for yourself or for maybe a small company or whatever, that will get you a lot further than just relying on a degree, because so many people will have one.
I think that's really great advice, that you can do all sorts of things on the side that could count as experience in this day and age.
Like video editing, or you're proficient in Photoshop and here are some examples of my images in graphics, like little things like that really excite like future employers.
That's amazing. Well, Charlotte, thanks so much for talking to us. I'm gonna put all the links or everything that you said, so your agency, the crowdfunding, anything else that you want on the show notes. I always feel very professional saying that. But thanks so much for joining us and for sharing all your expertise with the I Like Networking crowd.
Yay, thank you. So lovely speaking with you.
You too, and I hope your growth plans go really, really well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the I Like Networking podcast. Please remember to share, subscribe, and review the podcast so that more people can find us. All the information discussed on this episode will be on the show notes. See you next time.